As we come together for our 23rd Adobe Summit, it's an incredibly exciting time to stand at the intersection of creativity, productivity, and marketing.
Your work inspires us to innovate. And thank you for trusting us to power your digital marketing.
Please welcome Chief Marketing Officer, Enterprise and Digital Experience, Rachel Thornton.
Oh, my stars, so exciting to be here. I hope everyone else is excited. I even wore my little red Adobe shoes for the honor. All right, welcome everyone to day 2. I think we've had a great summit so far. I love that video because I think it captures a lot of the energy and enthusiasm. It also captures the excitement at our Adobe Experience Maker Awards. Each year, these awards honor individuals and teams setting a new standard for customer experience. So the first thing I want to do this morning is give our winners a big round of applause. And if you have an inspiring, exciting story to share in mid-August, our nominations for next year will open up, so watch for those. All right, we had an amazing amount of innovation we talked about in day 1. We talked about the transformation to customer experience orchestration. We launched Brand Concierge, which I think is a real game changer for both B2C and B2B brands. I'm really excited to see what you all do with that. And then we saw amazing content supply chain innovation and Gen Studio innovation from David Wadhwani. He shared that. I heard a lot of feedback from customers as I was talking to you all yesterday, and folks really loved that. They really loved, sort of bringing together the whole Adobe story. So that was great to see. And we have even more lined up for day 2. So today, we're going to talk about customer experience and how brands like Marriott are really bringing that to life. I think it's an amazing sort of case study and example that everyone will really enjoy. I loved it. I loved really seeing that surround strategy that Marriott took with their customers and bringing customer experience to life. And then we're going to talk about B2B go-to-market orchestration. That's going to be brought to life by ServiceNow. They also have an amazing story and demo I think you'll love. I have a B2B background, and so I really love it when brands use Adobe and bring that to life and do a lot of the orchestration that really makes their brand come to life, with their B2B customers. But first, to kick off, I would like to welcome Jamie Dimon, Chair and CEO of JPMorgan Chase, and Shantanu Narayan, Chair and CEO of Adobe.
JPMorgan Chase today is 3,000 companies. The most important thing that we've done over the years is that people who end up running these big divisions, they have heart and empathy.
Our culture is so important because I really believe it can be our greatest competitive advantage.
Wherever we operate, we do the right thing, and we deliver the relationships over decades that make us the bank that clients trust, respect, and rely on.
Our clients are the ones with the dream. We're there to help cultivate that dream.
The best thing about JPMorgan Chase is we're not fair-weathered friends. We work hard in good times and in bad to be there for our clients on the ground.
We have over 60,000 technologists that really allow us to deliver at a global scale.
We're investing in our communities through hiring community managers, community home lending advisors, and lifting up the communities in which we operate.
We bank cities, universities, pensions, states, governments, countries. Lifting up civic society is the job of all of us, and we just never stop.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Adobe Summit Day 2. Did folks have a good day on day 1? Well, few names in finance command the respect and influence of Jamie Dimon. As chair and CEO, Jamie not only manages the nation's largest bank, and just some numbers, managing $4 trillion in assets and moving over $10 trillion every day, but actually shapes the global financial landscape through resilience, strategic vision, and an unrelenting commitment to innovation. From navigating economic crises to championing leadership in business, Jamie's insights extend far beyond Wall Street, impacting industries, economies, and frankly, the global economy. So please join me in again welcoming Jamie to Adobe Summit. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Love to start with leadership, Jamie, and you've had such an incredible and storied career, certainly, American Express, Travelers, Smith, and then Bank One, which understanding you also potentially looked at a couple of other companies. So maybe, just how do you think about leadership and what has happened in your journey that's helped develop you as a leader?
Thank you. So first of all, welcome, Shantanu. Thank you for having me here. Congratulations on all of your success. I have to confess, I'm not used to speaking in front of 12,000 people, and so leadership, I'll just give you the basics, and I think there's 4 quick things. One is assess everything, honestly, directly, forthrightly. A lot of companies don't do that. They're not honest about their own performance. They don't look at competitors. They get kind of complacent. They're making a lot of money. So you're constantly assessing the landscape, detailed analysis, repeat, rinse, and don't try to use numbers to prove what you think. Try to use numbers to understand what you're really doing. The second is a lot of people run stuff, they're like a hot mess. They can't get out of a paper bag. They're always late. People don't know their jobs. They don't show up. They may be great people. They may be great at analysis, but they, just don't let them run something because it would be a disaster. And the third, which I think is kind of a little bit different, is heart and humility. People know when you care about them. They know when you're real. They know when you're full of shit. They know all those things. And they want to know, people don't want to work at a leader level for someone who's going to blame them if something goes wrong, takes credit when something goes right, doesn't treat everyone across the company with respect, whether it's the person cleaning the bathrooms in the office or a CEO. And the fourth is you got to have a little bit of grit. You in any of these big jobs, man, stuff is coming all day long, and you have to be able to say absolutely not, or absolutely take the chance, go for it. You'll be okay whether it works or not. So. And if you do those things right, you could be a pretty good leader.
I know you've also talked about balance, for us all as leaders. Maybe just, before we get into the economy and other issues, how do you think about balance at the executive level?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what I think, but I wasn't always good at it, so don't assume I was good at it. I think you all have to take care of your mind, your body, your spirit, your soul, your friends, your family. We can't do that. We can help. We can create more flexibility. We can, do a lot of things and make sure, but you got to do it yourself, and you have to. So I pretty much like work and do family. That's my kind of balance. You don't see me at like black ties or things like that. And so, but it is important. If you don't recharge, if you don't get your rest, you're going to get sick. You're not going to be good at anything. You're going to damage your health. And so, yeah, you got to fight for it. And those things you fight for some of us is walking in the woods or reading a book or just going to dinner with friends or something like that. But I think what people really should do is just make it part of how they plan, as opposed to get around to it, filling it in around all your work and stuff like that. And I remember when I was a young parent, I started to make an X. I put stuff down for my kids on my calendar like anything else. And I did it like anything else. I really canceled anything. And that could be a soccer game, or it could be I didn't like parent-teacher stuff, basically, but if you do it right, you can have it all. You just can't have it all. If you're late, you're harried, you're tossing, you're always grabbing your hair, and if you're very thoughtful about your calendar, I think you can actually do both. And it's really hard when you have kids. That is when it really becomes a tough thing when you have young kids.
I think the question on everybody's mind is, sort of what's happening with the global economy. And so just maybe, how you see the global economy evolve and the challenges and opportunities over the next few years.
Yeah, so let me kind of start with the U.S. So the U.S. economy, since COVID has been on a really good ride. I'm going to give you a significant but, okay? And I don't mean a minor but, I call it a significant but. But the ride's been pretty good. We've been growing at 2.5% a year. Individuals have money, they're spending it. And what happened is during COVID, we spent $6 trillion, and since then we borrowed and spent another $4 trillion. So part of the exceptionalism, we are an exceptional nation, is the spending. And it went into people's pocketbooks, it went to companies, it went to states. You're talking about unbelievable sums of money, which are basically being spent down. So if you look at it today, consumers at the low end have basically spent it down, and they're starting to do what I call traditional things when they need some extra money, which is canceling a trip, going to a cheaper restaurant, et cetera. People at the high end still have their money's down a lot, but they are much wealthier. Think of homes and stock prices over the last 20 years. And a very important point for all of us in the room is the bottom 20% didn't get a pay raise for 25 years. They're dying younger. Their schools aren't good. They live in crime-ridden neighborhoods. And we've created a huge problem, which I think causes some of this polarization. So the economy is still in that soft landing thing, but a lot of turbulence out there. QE, I'm not quite sure what that means. Tariffs, it'll definitely have pluses and minuses, and you see consternation around the world. What's going to happen to the tax plan? I personally think the most important thing happening in the world is what's happening in Ukraine and Russia and the Middle East. That's about the future of the free democratic world. But I think this turbulence could force, this soft land in a completely different direction. So I'm a little cautious about that direction, that somehow everything's going to be hunky-dory. We're so used to it, but things happen that people don't expect. So hopefully it'll continue. Hopefully inflation will come down. The other thing I'll say about inflation, when I look at the world, I always try to look at future facts. What's going to happen in the future that determines what's happening in the future, not what you see today. I think people make a mistake to look at inflation, the last report. Everything I see is inflationary. The remilitarization of the world, the unbelievable fiscal spending around the world. Is not just the US, though we are the worst, okay, by far, but it's literally around the world. The extent of debt outstanding out there. The green economy is going to cost a lot of money. Restructuring of trade, however it happens, is going to cost money and cause a little bit of inflation. So there are a lot of inflationary forces. And when you look at long-term trends, the long-term trend might be higher rates, more inflation, a lot of demand for capital. Like Europe alone, to meet what they need to meet for military spending, $300 or $400 billion more a year. And I think we're going to have to spend a lot more military too. So we'll see. I always hope for the best, and as a business person, I kind of plan for all potential outcomes.
Well, I'm an optimist, Jamie, and let's switch maybe a little. A lot of the folks in the room are business managers. They're thinking about innovation, and a lot of people may not realize you have over 300,000 employees across 170 offices in 100 countries. And you've expanded beyond strictly finance to things like lifestyle businesses, whether it's Chase Connected, Commerce, Chase Travel. Maybe just how you think about innovation at a company of that scale.
So the way I look at innovation in the writ large, technology has driven almost all the change for mankind. Whether it's agriculture, printing, engines, steel, ceramics, internet, and I put AI in the same category. But my bottom line is that technology innovation should be at the management table. So Lori Beer, who runs CIO, the woman who runs artificial intelligence, they report to me and the president. They're at the table. Whenever we meet as businesses, this has been true my whole life, what are you doing? What are you building? How are you competing? How are you using new technology, new computers? How are you using Adobe? We're one of the bigger users of Adobe, like constantly with cyber. And so if you were a business review with us, you'd see people's big ideas around AI, their big ideas around this. It will drive everything. It's changed business, as you know. It's going to change a lot of different things, but around the spectrum of AI, think of a bank like us as data, I call it the adjacency. So we mentioned travel, connected commerce. Now if you're a Chase card owner or Chase account owner, we're using those things to offer you travel packages. We have a travel agency to make your life better. And unlike some other companies out there in social media, we want to offer you what you want. We're going to give you a menu. So you can say, I'd like to see golf stuff, I like to see travel, I like European travel, but not just bombard you with ads and stuff like that. So we're going to use that, all these adjacencies, to make your life easier. It could be your payment systems, fraud, marketing. We have programmable currency movements where folks like you move money around the world. It's automatically done in the currency you want, in the timetable you want, in the month you want, the day you want. And so this will be great for everybody. But the really important thing to me is make it part of your mindset. Do it all the time. And I do think AI is going to change the world. I think AI is like the internet. So I remind people, the internet was invented in 1968. The steam engine took a long time to roll out. Electricity took a long time to roll out, but it will roll out. It'll be a different path we all expect today: faster, slower, open, closed, cheaper, better. But it's going to, as a user, it'll be huge.
We were going to talk about AI, and I'll get to that. But prior to that, you touched on consumers and choice. How do you, at sort of JPMorgan Chase, think about consumer centricity and consumer experiences?
Yeah. Well, I always start, and I think like you, is a business should always look at itself from the point of view of the consumer. And I bought a lot of companies, and I've been a lot of places, and when you sit in the meeting, it's about them. Okay, what are we doing and what are they doing? It's not about the consumer. Like, how do you want? You're going to vote with your feet, folks, whether it's a restaurant or a bank or something like that. And so you should always be looking at it that way, and you should look at the competitors that way. What are they doing to offer people? And then the detail, when you say dealing with the consumer, it's at every single level. You guys, the experts in how you deal with them on the consumer side, it's what they see. It's how their sales takes place. It's how we're going to be using agents to, send you new cars, and your car's been lost. But everything you do has got to be from the point better, faster, quicker. And you have some companies who are exceptional at this. I remember talking to Jeff Bezos years ago, and he was talking about the swiping. They look at it milliseconds. How long it takes to do something. I went back and of course said, hey, what are our milliseconds? And so, and that's what you have to do. Because there's always, that's the thing, big companies, there's always competition, and they're looking at everything you do, what they can do better, and they should. That's the beauty of capitalism, and so you have to do it all the time, everywhere you go. And most people in the company, the other thing I would point out, internal stuff is always consumer too. So you have all these bureaucracies inside these companies that slow things down, they're chatting about this, they're wasting a lot of time. That's bad for the customer too. So I'd say treat people, your own employees like their customers too. How you use products and services to make their lives easier.
At the scale at which you are, and you're trying to drive this globally, a lot of companies talk about, what you do centrally and how do you think about rolling this out globally. So maybe just, again, the role of marketing as well as how you think about global expansion of consumer centricity.
Yeah. So, marketing, you got to look at marketing writ large because, when you started, marketing was ads. And the ads, I remember years ago buying, Time Life magazine, and what a list, market that list, high net worth people. Now it's far more sophisticated than that. And as you know, you guys do a lot of the work. What are people doing? How are they doing it? What are they clicking on? What are they abandoned? What do they see? How do the ads play into it? How do the ads in the city play into it? Where do you link a product that makes sense? Sometimes we torture our customers because we think it's great and they can't stand it. And so you have to do marketing at large. Big companies, a lot of them die, okay? And you always got to keep that in mind, and you can look at Sears and Kmart and some of the big tech companies, they're all gone. And in almost every single case is complacency, bureaucracy, arrogance, stupidity. They're missing the thing. They're looking at the company from a standpoint, and they over-centralize. So if you go to a company where the staff are running the company, short the stock. The authority belongs as close to the ground as it can be, like a branch. Of course there's risk, we're a bank, if a branch does something wrong, we can get in big trouble, but if you centralize everything to minimize every risk, you're making a mistake. So you want the branch manager, the CEOs of businesses to, have the ability not to override a major decision, but to question every major decision. So that's true for every country. We've given a lot more authority to our senior country officers. So in every country I go to, when I go to India, I ask them, what do you want? to do a better job for India using all of JPMorgan resources in your country? And that answer is always different than the people in New York or London say, or the people in Hong Kong, the people who run Asia. Always different. Because the people who run New York are saying, well, if we're going to spend money in equity research, India's not as important as so-and-so. And so my view is, just like the technology, constant investing in overseas, area by area. The whole management team talks about every single thing. There are no meetings after meetings. It's all the dead cats on the table, and challenge yourself all the time, and you can hopefully avoid the disease that kills companies.
It was fascinating to hear you talk about how technology has always played such a big role in the evolution of the company, as well as AI specifically, and having them on your staff. I think it's fair to say 2024 was probably the year of AI, and it's still continuing. And you hear new messages every day, new LLMs. I mean, how do you think about AI, both in finance, and how do you approach even, how you use AI within the context of financial services?
So first of all, we were always big math. So when AI first started, just the next generation of what I call big math. It was finding patterns that you couldn't find, taking different data sets that didn't, correlations weren't working anymore. But we first used AI in 2012. And we used some outside people to do it. And when it was first shown to me, I said, we're going to build our own. So we have 2,000, maybe more people doing that today, data scientists, AI, machine learning, natural language processing. We have 200 people in AI research, at the next level, artificial data and various things. And the woman who runs that ran machine learning at Carnegie Mellon. And they can go into any department, literally, and look at how you do stuff, and walk out, make a few changes, so we have 2,000 people. I'm going to say 450 use cases, but yesterday, I'm going to say it's probably 700 today. Some are huge. They cost a lot of money, risk, fraud, marketing, prospecting, how we do ads, how we run, it's everything. It's used for documents. We have an LLM inside the company now, so you can, it'll review billions of pages of documents to answer a question that you have about something inside the company. Hundreds of people use it, people in the branches use it, and it's the tip of the iceberg. But the way I think you make it effective is the woman who runs the company is at the management table, and there's a mirror inside every business. So there's a head of AI and data, and she has data too. Because data is the hard part. It's not machine learning or generative AI or AGI. It's getting the data in a form that's accessible. But inside the credit card company, the retail branch system, sales and trading, marketing, investment banking, payments, they all do it. It all gets mirrored. And like I said, we just are always asking people, what are your AI projects? So I can call anyone on the phone today and say, what are your top 5? And as it gets used, people are coming up with more and more wonderful stuff. And so it's got to be part of your DNA. And it's hard. A lot of people, they don't want to do it. They think it's the job of tech. It's not the job of tech. It's the job of management. You don't have to understand exactly how it works. Realize it can do what? It can like our cost of prospecting now in the commercial bank is 1/10 of what it was. Not 10% better. The benefit of that isn't that it reduced the cost of having a client from 30,000 to 3,000. We can add hundreds of new bankers effectively, quickly. So that's the benefit. And like I said, it's just the very early stages.
A lot of people talk about the plus side of technology and the potential things to watch out for. So maybe you talked a lot about data in that particular context. Just how you think about data and privacy, and having sort of the North Star of how JPMorgan Chase deals with that as well on behalf of consumers.
Yeah, so the other thing about AI, and it will be regulated and all legislated and all that, and it should be hopefully done properly, because they could squash innovation, but it's going to be used by bad guys. No different than drugs, cars, airplanes, and we have to be prepared for that. And so we use a lot of AI to combat fraud and to combat bad guys on cyber and stuff like that. So, but we have, by law, banks can't share data. So if you called me up and said, show me the people who do A, B, and C, I can't do that. I can anonymize it and have you send them an ad. So we're going to reverse engineer that. So it'll be like, think of reverse engineering Google. You can call me up and say, I want to know people who like to ski on this month, they have a lot of money, they do all these things, and they have kids. And we can shoot the ads to them or something like that. So it's very valuable. But we believe it's your data. You get to decide. A lot of your data, your banks, some of that data has been taken by outside third parties and sold.
And I think that's wrong. You should decide what to give third parties, how to give it to them. There's a liability transfer when it happens, so we try to protect your money from fraud and scams and God knows things. But once the data's outside, and a lot of you, believe it or not, have given your bank account information to a third party who uses that to do things that would surprise you. And they're sucking out the data. Some of them are taking it literally every 10 seconds from a JPMorgan, which also costs us money. So we're big into fraud protection, data protection, and then use it to help you. And I think we should be doing the same thing in healthcare, by the way. It should be your data. It shouldn't belong to the healthcare companies, the physicians. You should have a data wallet of healthcare that you can give to whoever you want, for the services you want.
I think a common theme of what you're clearly talking about, Jamie, is sort of the respect for the individual and trust. But what's been inspiring, as I've read more about JPMorgan, is how you've used the power of JPMorgan to rebuild cities. You've done it in Detroit, you're continuing to do it in DC and Chicago. So maybe, at the scale at which you are, the role that purpose and culture plays in the evolution of JPMorgan.
Yeah, well, I never used to use that word because I don't like a lot of BS and purpose. A lot of companies say our purpose is to do the best job for clients and employees while serving society. It doesn't mean anything unless you actually do it. But that is our job. We finance, countries around the world. We finance individuals, cities, states, schools, hospital, governments. Our military, the biggest companies, the richest people in the world. But we reach out everywhere. So we have special programs to reach out, to veterans and minorities and inner cities. Some by law, we're required under current banking law to do certain things. But at the end of the day, my grandparents were all Greek immigrants, never finished high school, but you learn, you have a purpose in life. And I think a lot of people, and your purpose in life could be run a company, be an artist, be a politician, it could be to just be a wonderful parent, and do it as well as you can do it and make the world a better place. And so this is my contribution. But since JPMorgan is all around the world, one of the things that we get to see, and we spend, $1.5 billion, almost $2 billion in various types of research. What does the world do and what works? So when we went to Detroit was one of the few American cities that hadn't had a renaissance, and the mayor was a white guy elected in a 80% black town on a write-in vote. And he went to all the neighborhoods and had them in the living rooms, and I heard about this guy, called him up. He thought it was a prank call, and I said, we're one of the biggest banks in Detroit. I said, we want to help. So, and this kind of spawned a lot of stuff for us. So we send in teams of people. So instead of consumer bank, investment bank, private bank, one group of people led by a guy called Peter Scher, what do you need? And so we learned things about affordable housing. We started a virtual call center in Detroit. It's got now 150 people there. They love it. They make money. They never thought that they would work for a bank. They find it fun working for a bank. Several been promoted now. We learned about how to do work skills. We learned how to do work skills from Switzerland and Germany, how to get kids certificates that get them jobs. We learned how to do better jobs at affordable housing. And so it kind of spawned these things. And community outreach is what we do. And I think, by the way, if you were a small bank in a small town or a bakery shop, that's what you do too. You bring the food to a homeless shelter. At the end of the day, you help your community. It's called humanity. There's nothing wrong with it. And we just do it on a big scale. I also think about a big company, the notion you should be heartless and nameless and stuff like that, that's terrible. I want JPMorgan in Las Vegas to respect everyone here, and the people in Las Vegas say, we are better off with JPMorgan being here. And if JPMorgan makes a mistake, we acknowledge it and fix it. God knows we make plenty of mistakes, so it's just part of what we do. And I think a lot of companies do it and have a lot of programs to help the societies, both that they're in and around the world.
Well, yes. It's hard to top that. I will say, Jamie, what you and JPMorgan have done is inspiring for businesses, and personally what you've done for leadership and, inspiring a whole bunch of the next generation of leaders, and it's been a privilege getting to know you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Congratulations, too. Thank you, folks. Have a great time while you're here.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Shantanu and Jamie. That was such an amazing conversation. It sounds like you all loved it. That was really, really great. We are going to have even more great conversations, even more innovation. Now I want to welcome Anjul Bambari, our SVP of Experience Cloud Engineering, to the stage. She's going to talk about unified customer experience and AI. Anjul?
Thank you, Rachel. Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here this morning. In yesterday's keynote, Shantanu and Anil described the Adobe AI platform, where data, models, and ultimately agents support all your marketing, productivity, and creativity endeavors. Now, that technology comes to life in Adobe Experience Platform and all its associated applications, really unleashing agentic AI to deliver unified customer experiences. Now, last year, we introduced the AI Assistant. It's a technology that allows you to use natural language to seek insights from your customer experience data. Going forward, we are supercharging the AI Assistant with agents. So I'll spend a few minutes describing what are agents. Well, to start with, they are powerful software artifacts that are both intelligent and autonomous. You continue to engage with them through conversations, but they go beyond answering questions. They can actually do things for you. I mean, you have to tell them what you want, what are your goals, what are your constraints, and then they get to work, often in the background, and they'll proactively make suggestions, filling in gaps. And it turns out that Adobe Experience Platform applications are a natural fit for such agents. So sure enough, we are tightly integrating them into all your favorite applications, like the real-time CDP, Adobe Journey Optimizer, Customer Journey Analytics, and Adobe Experience Manager. Now, all these capabilities will be surfaced through the AI Assistant. So thereby, you have a uniform interface across the board. Behind the scenes, the AI Agent Orchestrator will manage all these agents for you. So maybe let's take a look at a few of the agents that are on their way. The first is the Audience Agent. So as the name suggests, this is your ally when it comes to audiences, and it is tightly interwoven into real-time CDP. And via the familiar AI Assistant interface, you'll now be able to create and manage audiences. So let's take an example of an online travel website. And say an audience specialist's goal is to increase car rentals through cross-sell. The specialist can ask the AI agent to find customers with flights, cruise, or hotel bookings in the next 6 months, and then filter the ones that have a high propensity to add car rental. So if you see that the directives are pretty simple that the practitioners are providing to the AI assistant. But what happens behind the scenes is a lot more complex. Now, the agent begins by analyzing your stated goals and constraints. It reasons about your intentions. And then it generates an orchestration plan, picking up relevant attributes and events from unified profiles. It may even build some descriptive and predictive models on the fly to estimate audience sizes. And eventually, the agent explains the plan to the practitioner, seeks adjustments, and then based on your feedback, it can update the plan and then go into action. So in effect, you as a practitioner are specifying what you want. and the agent focuses on the how. And of course, all of this is managed by the agent orchestrator behind the scenes. So next up is the journey agent. Now, this is embedded within Adobe Journey Optimizer. So just like the audience agent, this also accepts your directives in natural language to create and manage journeys. So it can handle, basic things like, hey, what are my top performing journeys? Or stop all upsell journeys. But it does go further than that. So if we take travel and hospitality, it's an industry with loyalty tiers like gold, silver, platinum. And when customers risk losing status, brands have to bring them back into the fold. So how do you incentivize them to kind of stay on track? That's the goal. And the constraint is that loyalty programs, they run on an annual cycle. So when this problem, via these goals and constraints, is proposed or stated to the agent, it will design a journey to entice certain customers that that are off track with relevant offers. It'll look up the past travel behavior. It'll look up their loyalty status. It'll combine that with industry knowledge as well as with brand requirements. And then it'll recommend when and how to nudge customers, deciding on the right offers, the timing, as well as the channels. Now, these recommendations with explanations will be presented to the practitioner, and they can refine them iteratively. So I think you'll see a pattern here that you are always in the driver's seat, and you have an autopilot that you can switch on. So now that you've built your audiences and crafted what you think are the perfect journeys, that's awesome. But we know that experimentation in marketing is an always-on exercise. As customers change or markets evolve, you want the ability to play with new ideas. And to that end, we are building the experimentation agent. Now, the experimentation agent, it lets you quickly cycle through ideas, deploying the ones that prove effective. So again, let's take an example. Say you want to increase the new subscriber engagement. You present this to the agent. In turn, it gathers insights from your customer experience data, as well as prior experiments, and it'll generate multiple ideas or hypotheses. It even predicts results for each hypothesis. So let's say one suggestion that the agent makes is to incentivize subscribers with small rewards for completing certain tasks. You like the expected lift, you choose to run that experiment, and at the end of which, it's going to summarize the results in a way that are pretty easy to comprehend. So at that point, based on real-world validation, you can either productize that experiment or you can continue to iterate further. So with that, let's look at how Marriott is using agents to enhance their Bonvoy guest experiences. With me on stage, I have Rachel Hannesian, our Senior Product Manager for Generative AI. Over to you, Rachel.
Thanks so much, Andro. I'm excited to show you all a host of new capabilities that are coming to Adobe Experience Cloud that will help brands deliver unified and even more personalized consumer experiences across all touch points. Before we get started, I'd like to thank Marriott for allowing us to use their brand for this vision demo. And all data and workflows that I show are fictitious to protect the privacy of Marriott guests. Now, Marriott's business travelers are really as loyal as any in the hospitality industry. And empowered by new Adobe capabilities, they're finding smarter ways to inspire Bonvoy business travelers to extend their trips. I mean, how many of you all are sticking around in Vegas after Summit? All right, a couple of you. Well, let me show you a glimpse of the experience that Marriott can deliver. I've just finished booking a work trip to Las Vegas. After booking, I receive a notification to extend my stay. Now, I'm just thinking business right now, so I'll swipe it away. But later, when I'm in my confirmation email, I notice that there's an opportunity for a points bonus if I extend my trip. When I tap through, I see discounts on local Vegas activities. And wait, what? Is that a discounted helicopter tour? I'm going to extend my trip with this activity. And now I'm all set for my Vegas work trip. Now, that Marriott upsell experience was delivered to guests at scale, leveraging several new Adobe capabilities. Why don't we check in to see how we put it together? I'll start by finding the right audience to target for my goal of extended business trips. I'll do this using Audience Agent, a new goal-oriented way for practitioners to create and refine audiences in Adobe Experience Platform. I'll start by asking Audience Agent through AI Assistant, help me expand my extended stay plan with additional audiences. It looks like Audience Agent came up with 3 audiences based on my goal. And looking a bit more closely, luxury travelers will play really well for this campaign. So I'll add that to my plan. Once I'm on the canvas, I can actually simulate engagement across the different channels using machine learning on the fly. And it looks like I have a pretty good opportunity for email promotion. I'll definitely be capitalizing on that later. Last, I'll optimize my audience just by focusing on profiles that have a high propensity to convert. And with that, I just got a pretty sweet upgrade, and I didn't even have to pass by the front desk for it. Now that my audience is optimized, let's sculpt the journey that these business travelers are on. Rather than starting from a blank slate, I'll just prompt AI Assistant to create a journey to incentivize business travelers to extend their trip to include leisure time. Now, AI Assistant is using past journey performance data as a reference to help me come up with some basics for my use case. It even identified the 2 audiences that I just optimized. I'll indicate further that I need a FOMO-inducing push notification, a personalized confirmation email, and discounts on local activities. Fantastic. That saved me a lot of time. With just a few short prompts to AI Assistant, I was able to publish a draft of my journey all the way to the canvas. Easier than room service. Okay, but we're not done yet. We now need to continuously optimize the journey that these business travelers are on using experimentation. And to do this, I'll use Experimentation Agent. Now, the metric that I'm trying to move is booking extensions. It looks like Experimentation Agent has already come up with a pretty promising hypothesis for me, that promoting discounted excursions instead of a points bonus will drive more booking extensions. Using this information, I can add an additional treatment to my journey. And then based on simulated performance, I'll either roll this experience out to everyone, or I'll go back and find another hypothesis to test. But for now, I'm ready to pack my bags and go. Back to you, Anjal.
Thank you, Rachel. That was awesome. We are truly thrilled by the uptake of our AI capabilities. On the AI Assistant, an overwhelming number of you have adopted it, and we've heard from you that you're seeing significant productivity gains. Here is a quote from a customer that is quite representative of what we are hearing. AI Assistant has saved us hours troubleshooting, data, journey, and audience management. Even on agents, the early feedback has been equally promising. We've seen great success at AAA Northeast. They saw a 165% increase in car rentals while targeting just a fraction of their prior audience sizes. So in this case, less is more. Wegmans, they also saw 3x higher engagement rates using AI-powered audiences for mobile campaigns. Now, just as marketing practitioners have the AI assistant, your brand's customers will also soon have a similar technology at their fingertips. And we are calling this the Adobe Brand Concierge. Now, we are all familiar with the power of commodity LLMs. At Adobe, we are taking this technology a step further. Brand Concierge is really the fusion of generative AI with customer profiles and your brand's asset portfolio. So much like the AI assistant, this is also conversational. It's multimodal. It has insights into your customers' buying patterns and preferences. And it also knows about your brand's offerings. It knows about the inventories of products and other assets. So all of this really allows for personalized engagement and decision-making. No more generic answers from commodity LLMs. So when my daughter goes online shopping for tops, the Brand Concierge can recommend the colors and styles that match the pants she bought in store a few weeks back. So see what I just did there. Now, if my daughter hears this, she would want all her favorite brands to have the Brand Concierge now. Over to Rachel to see this in action.
Thanks so much, Anjal. So many of Marriott's premium properties can offer a personalized concierge experience in the lobbies of their hotels. But that type of experience isn't really scalable across all hotels in their portfolio. Or is it? If done digitally. Jump ahead with me to the last day of the conference. I've now shifted from business to leisure mode. And actually, these sunglasses help a lot with the bright lights. At the end of the conference, I receive a push notification about a celebrity chef dining experience. And can I just say, I love that Marriott knows that I'm a foodie. It's in my consumer profile. When I tap through, I enter a multimodal conversational experience that's powered by Adobe Brand Concierge. And will you look at these brand assets? There is nothing generic about this experience. It looks like the dinner is tonight at Marriott's partner Cosmopolitan Hotel. Let's get a little bit more information about it. Can you tell me more about the chef? Okay, this looks fun. I have to meet this guy. Let's book an 8 p.m. reservation for 4 tonight. Anyone want to come with me? Great. Well, Marriott was able to confirm my reservation instantly by linking me to a booking agent that's linked to Adobe Commerce. Well, back at Marriott, with Brand Concierge deployed to over 9,000 properties, they need a really simple way to analyze across all of the guest interactions. They'll, of course, do this using Adobe Customer Journey Analytics' new Data Insights agent. I'll simply ask AI Assistant, analyze Brand Concierge requests. This is looking across all 9,000 properties. I can even filter down just by business travelers. Seems like everyone's really interested in these chef experiences. Last, you may have noticed this real-time refresh button at the top. And yes, it does exactly what you were hoping it does. When I select this, all data and visualizations update to show in real time. There's no better way to get a pulse on what's happening right now across your entire consumer experience. All right, well, it's time for me to turn in my key card and check out. Back to you, Anjal.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you. So in addition to the Brand Concierge, what you also saw is the evolution of analytics. Conversations are the new way that both the marketers and decision makers, they draw insights from data. And as you heard, that the data insights agent is enabling that shift. Now, it certainly covers your basic scenarios like, what's my revenue by product, category this month or in a certain region. But it really shines with sophisticated capabilities such as forecasting, anomaly detection, causal analysis, and remediation. So to give you one example of its power, it can compare audiences against stated goals and explain what are the potential reasons for any of the differences across this. Now, these are difficult things to do without this kind of a technology available to you. Now, this kind of an analysis can be applied to whether it's a purchase, customer onboarding, or order fulfillment funnels, and really enable your teams to take action quickly. So I'm sure you can appreciate how AI is transforming marketing. This technology will allow you to create more personalized and impactful customer experiences. We really look forward to seeing how you will leverage these innovations through our applications to drive unified customer experience. Thank you so much for your great partnership. And now I have the pleasure of welcoming Hillary Cook, Vice President, Global Marketing Operations at Marriott. Hillary.
Hello, everyone. As Anjul mentioned, my name is Hillary Cook, and right off the bat, I need to admit something. I feel as though many of us during our careers have gotten the advice and the feedback to act like you've been there and fake it till you make it, but I've never been here. And I'm not good at faking it. So this is my very first keynote, and I've certainly never spoken in front of thousands of people, so thanks in advance for being a really fantastic audience. I don't know about y'all, but between yesterday and what we've seen today, there are some pretty incredible innovations coming our way. And what I'm curious about, particularly for the other practitioners in the audience, is how many of you are as excited as you are perhaps skeptical of your ability to actually implement what you're seeing? Is that fair? The question that I ask myself every day, and I'm curious if you do the same, is are we as marketers and technologists truly ready to take advantage of these innovations? I'm going to say what I think we're thinking, which is that we're not. But I do believe that readiness is within our control, and it's far simpler than we thought. So let's talk about how we actually do personalization at scale. Are you game? Thank you. Marriott operates over 9,500 hotels around the world, more than 30+ brands, 10,000 destinations, 350 campaigns annually, all around the globe, with thousands of marketers and associates trying to reach our customers and serve our more than 220 million Marriott Bonvoy members. Helping our customers connect to these opportunities, as I mentioned, are thousands of associates and marketers. And while they are focused on creating amazing, memorable experiences for our guests, my job, my team's job, is to focus on serving them. As the leader of marketing operations, I hear those stats and immediately start thinking through the implications. Can our marketers access the content they need easily? What manual work is slowing them down? Are we reaching customers in the right channels? What does success look like? And do I have the data to form the insights to measure that success? Do we have a consistent taxonomy? Do we have a taxonomy? Do we understand the relationship between our brands, our destinations, our partners, and the digital assets our customers will interact with? At this scale, even in a perfect world, it's pretty complex. But here's the thing. The biggest barrier is not the technology. It's us. In 2027, Marriott will turn 100 years old. Whatever challenges you're facing in your organization, I promise you same. I was speaking with someone at a dinner the other night, and we were talking about how across our industry, for those brands that have been around for more than 40 or so years, many of our marketing databases and capabilities are actually built on the idea of sending direct mail, right? It was a single touch point, it was a very easy process, it was simple assets, and our digital industry has not only grown, but exploded. And we sit here at the precipice of how to leverage AI. And so 2.5 years ago, my team and I decided to be really bold. We took off rose-colored glasses, we looked the future in the face, and we found an objective way to assess our readiness. AI is not a silver bullet for fixing decades of debt. It is, however, an incredible amplifier if you're willing to do the right work. Otherwise, I believe it's just a shiny object that will never get adopted at scale. So the question we all have is, where do we start? And I tend to find things that other people find boring really sexy. So this happens to be one of my favorite slides. There are 4 things I believe that every marketer in here needs to know and have in their arsenal. And for those of you who are our partners, I come from the partner side. I spent the vast majority of my career implementing before I moved over to client. And the thing that I didn't realize when I came over to the client side is that anytime brands get together in a room where partners are not, the first thing we all say is, all right, so what are you really doing? How are you really doing that? Is that real? And the key for me that I have found since being client side is these 4 things. Document your process flows. And one of the things you're going to find is that as you ask all your people in your organization how you take something from intake to in-market, is that no one will tell you the same thing twice. When you get a report that gives you data and insights that you then make business decisions on how to proceed, trace that data back to its original source, all the way. When you start to implement technology, actually document the original set of use cases you used to implement it. Because when you go to add on to that technology or say, well, so-and-so told me that tech would do this, how you chose to implement it from the beginning has a massive bearing on your ability to scale it afterwards. And the last for me is accountability. And I'm going to show you what I mean, tell you what I mean. When we started this process and we did these 3 things, we found some pretty astonishing things. We felt them, but I didn't have the numbers or the data or the documentation to tell my leadership. On average, we were 110 days from intake to in-market, 349 steps, 45 disparate processes that were all interdependent upon each other, but those 45 different teams did not know it. So one would make improvements to fix theirs, and then they would cause complications in 3 other processes they weren't aware of. One of my favorite stats and learnings is that 43 artifacts, documents, and takes were collected, 41 were duplicative in some manner. We chuckle because everyone in here recognizes that in yourself. There is very real power in being able to name and quantify your pain points. By doing this, it gave us the map to take to our leadership and come up with a game plan. The first thing we did was gain executive alignment. And I am incredibly fortunate to have some incredible leaders at Marriott, many of whom are in the audience today, across marketing, global technology, digital, and data. And they went all in and have continued to be incredible champions of our work. Once we had our data in order and we had executive alignment, we were able to stand up for us a really robust CDP and have a single view of the customer. This was incredibly important because when you think about the 5 regions that we have and the thousands of marketers, if I have marketers defining an audience in different ways, it leads to a very disruptive customer experience. I'm standing on this stage, so it won't surprise you that we chose the best in the industry, Adobe AEP, to lead the charge for us. As we had a centralized view of the customer and federated data, this means that I now have a strong foundation to begin maturing all of our marketing activation capabilities. We chose to stand up what we call MAPA, Marriott loves an acronym, Marketing and Personalization Accelerator. For us, this looked like taking our marketing capabilities and matching them with very real use cases that our marketers were trying to drive. This was across audience, strategy, and data activation, content, acceleration, and syndication, and orchestration and decisioning. When you build with purpose and in partnership with your marketers, experimentation fuels capability building and you prove value while ensuring long-term success. You may hear many of us at Marriott talk about it in terms of pilot, scale, and BAU. This means that we're able to experiment in a very agile and fast way. And then as we start to see that succeed, we will then build more use cases into it until we've reached enough scale that we say, this should be true for everything. And that way we stair-step into our maturity. The fun thing about going about it this way is that for us, it works. There are 2 first use cases that we did were around our welcome journey, which from a legacy perspective was 3 touch points. Now it is over 17 across 100 days. And our retargeting series, which we've had since I think 2016, 2017, but we felt that there was incredible unlocked value in that. And when we did the process documentation and we said, these are the things we want to fix. We want to get our process in order. I want to make it easier for my marketers, and I want to leverage these capabilities. We took 45 processes down to 1. We had a unified view of the customer. We were 93% faster about being able to update content or offers for an existing campaign into market. This means my marketers actually can prove their destiny. If that campaign is not working, they actually have a chance in real time to update that content. We were 6 times ahead of our revenue goal, and I sat in a meeting in September where I said, I don't know how we're going to meet this. But because we did a pilot scale approach, it meant that as we built and became more mature, we also started to accelerate. And so in the last 3 months of the year, I went from not knowing if we would hit it to exceeding it by 6 times, which is the same thing you see, and I promise this is a true stat, is in our content. We went from having static, complete built campaigns to now having more than 500,000 variations of the welcome journey, well on our way, very close in fact, to being over 2 million. And if you look across our content, we're now in the tens of millions of variations with a 70% reduction time to market. Thanks. As we've scaled across our use cases, all that hard work is allowing us to accelerate the value to our customers and our business. At the end of the day, we are all here because we want to be on the cutting edge of innovation and to make our customers' experiences better. I don't believe the future is happening to us. I believe it's ours to build. And remember, hard work does not have to be complicated, and taxonomy is sexy. Thank you so much for the time and for being an amazing audience, and I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thank you, Hillary. Amazing story. Now, over the last 2 days, we've heard a lot about personalization at scale in the age of AI. And much of what we've shared has been in the service of consumer brands. But we have thousands of B2B customers who also rely on Adobe technology. So to tell us more, let's welcome Amit Ahuja, our Senior Vice President of Product.
Thank you. I like that. Thank you, Anjal. How great was Hillary? She can hear you. Yeah, let's give it up for Hillary. That was absolutely incredible, and I loved her telling the story, and I thought that was amazing. All right, we're going to switch gears. Rachel talked about it, Anil talked about it. B2B. This is an area we have continued to invest very, very heavily in. We're incredibly excited about the announcements we're about to share with you. But before we even go into it, let me just set a little bit of context. Number one is we understand B2B is different than B2C. Let me just start there. We understand the foundations are different. We understand the needs are different. The pain points are different. And we have been focusing very much on how do we truly take this to the next level. And we also understand the complexity of B2B is going up from a journey point of view. Different channels, everyone's coming in through different spots. So all this complexity is rising. And we fundamentally think we're on the precipice of a different era of B2B. I want to show you what I mean by that. So here's our view of the evolution and where the opportunity really lies. If you rewind the clock, rewind a ways back, there was B2B 1.0. It was basically digitizing the customer record. I'm going to bring this manual record, it's deterministic, people enter stuff, incredibly important for B2B, right? But it was largely kind of more sales-oriented, and it was really deterministic and manual. Enter about 4 or 5 years ago, maybe B2B 2.0. So a lot of companies have said, hey, this isn't working for me. I'm going to go do more account-based stuff. So enter ABM. But the problem there, it was just top of the funnel, right? And everybody started looking at B2B is more than just top of the funnel. This is where I truly believe we're at a different stage, and we call it B2B 3.0, which is all about AI orchestrated journeys. Fancy name, I know. What the heck do I mean by it? Let me tell you 4 things that I mean by it. Number one, B2B is not just about marketing, it's not just about sales, it's not just about top of the funnel, it is about the whole funnel. How do you bring these teams together? What is sales, marketing, customer service? How do you orchestrate? So number one, full funnel. Number two, it's not enough just to have lead or account, it is both. There will be lead flows that come in, there will be account flows. How do you fundamentally understand both and orchestrate against those? Number three, how are you proactively learning where those accounts are in their journey? And this is the problem we see with so many customers today. They're like, I don't know. I'm getting this from this sales rep, this marketing outreach. How do you fundamentally have a view, a single view of where that account is in the buying group and through the journey? And lastly, how do you fundamentally do real-time optimization predicated on where they are? That is B2B 3.0. We're incredibly excited today to announce integrated B2B go-to-market orchestration. I know you're sitting here saying, okay, what is it? We're going to show it to you. We're going to walk step by step, but there's 3 parts of this that I want everybody to understand as we walk through each chapter. Number one, the data foundation. It starts with data. B2B is different. It's fundamentally different from B2C in many ways, and you have to have your data foundation correct. Number two, if you have your data foundation, they want personalization too. Same as B2C, but it's different. You have different types of content. We're going to walk you through what personalization looks like in the future of B2B. And number three, as I talked earlier about how you see this real-time engagement, how do you take insights to action? And most importantly, I want to leave you with one big thing as you see the demo that Amy and I'm about to walk through. It has to be on the same platform. And yesterday you saw so much around Adobe Experience Platform, but this is the investment we've been making. How do we continue to put B2B as a first-class citizen built on a platform so you can do these things natively? But again, let's show it to you. That's the goal of today. So Amy is here, going to do an amazing job of this, and we're going to start. Let me tee it up first. We're going to start with what I started chapter 1, the data foundation. It starts with a notion of what is an account and what is a buying group. And from there, this notion of, hey, I'm a marketer, where do I actually see this real-time view? So Amy, over to you.
Thanks, Amit. I'm so excited to show you how Adobe is reimagining the way businesses orchestrate their go-to-market motions, fundamentally improving how they plan, create, engage, and measure with AI-powered experiences. But first, I'd like to thank ServiceNow for allowing us to use their brand to showcase in our innovations today, and to let you know the data you'll see is fictitious. So as a marketer at ServiceNow, I'm looking to cross-sell my HR service delivery into my existing IT customer base. But one of the hardest things to do when planning a cross-sell strategy is identifying the right accounts to target, right? Well, with this new dashboard in Adobe Journey Optimizer B2B edition, ServiceNow marketing and sales teams can access a single view of their top accounts, eliminating the need to gather data from multiple sources. So let's take a look. So as you can see, I can quickly assess my top accounts by engagement level, and I can dive into more detail if I need to. And if I scroll down, I can quickly see what accounts are surging and those at risk, as well as buying group highlights. Now, these incredible insights help me to unlock a more precise go-to-market plan, and it's even easier for me to take action now. Using Audience Agent, I can quickly get started with any of these out-of-the-box actions right here. But I want to know who to cross-sell to, so why don't we go ahead and ask the question. Can you recommend accounts to cross-sell HR service delivery? And let's see what it comes back with. Amazing. It's suggesting that there's 36 accounts ready to target. But you'll also notice it's recommending the ideal personas to form the buying groups in these accounts. Now that's pretty intelligent. And if you're wondering what a buying group is, it is the group of individuals and roles within an account that are involved in a purchase decision for a particular product or service. Now these personas are definitely related to my buying groups, so let's go ahead and create them. Now that used to take hours, but with the help of Audience Agent, I did that in just a few moments. I mean, talk about a productivity booster. So as I'm viewing my buying groups here, I can quickly assess their status using insights such as completeness score and contact coverage. And again, I'm really happy with these, so now I just want to add them to a journey. You might notice that the agent is also recommending 2 of my existing journeys to add my buying groups to. Now, this is definitely my cross-sell motion here, so I'm going to add them, and done. I mean, being able to accurately predict accounts and operationalize buying groups with such ease is a complete game changer. Back to you, Amit.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you. All right. That's just chapter 1. Thank you, Amy. Thank you for walking through that. That's chapter 1. She walked you through the data foundation. How do we think about accounts? Most importantly, how do we think about this buying group concept layered in? So what is chapter 2? Chapter 2 is I have my data foundation, personalization. Again, we think about it a lot in a B2C context. Same thing is true in the B2B context. And 3 things I want you to pay attention to as she walks through this that are requirements of B2B personalization. Number 1, how are we using AI to infuse into this to truly do the personalization using the new agentic capability? Second, content for B2C and B2B is different, but yet you still need a content supply chain. So a lot of what we've invested into is not just the data side, but how do we bring content in from a B2B point of view to truly drive personalization? And third, what you're going to see, the notion of interaction in B2B is changing as well. If you're a B2B buyer, you're coming in, maybe previously you were always clicking lead forms, even this is becoming more conversational. So when you heard about concierge, you heard about it yesterday, Anjal talked about it, we are also doing this in the context of B2B, that next generation conversational experience. So let's show you this now from that point of view.
Awesome. So let's jump into the journey. Now, you'll notice that I have 3 unique paths delivering contextual experiences to each of my buying group members. Our first path is to target our HR decision makers with a paid social ad to book a meeting. Our second path is to add our HR practitioners to a journey in Marketo Engage to view a webinar. And our last path is to retarget our IT influencers with an email with some tips and tricks. Now, we know paid social is a critical channel to engage key account stakeholders. So let's preview my ad, and you might notice that it's coming from Adobe Gen Studio for performance marketing. Adobe makes it so easy to generate and activate high-performing paid social content using Gen AI to automate the production workflows and data insights to create engaging experiences. But I also want to preview Adobe Brand Concierge B2B Edition, our new conversational platform. This enables ServiceNow to engage each of the buying group members with personalized interactions and recommendations for a really intelligent conversational experience. But why don't we bring these to life and actually see the desired end user experience? So here, our HR decision makers click a social ad and land on the ServiceNow website. They engage with Brand Concierge, and they're guided to book a meeting on Thursday. Amazing. Our HR practitioners receive an email to catch up on an interactive webinar, complete with AI-generated summary and chapters for an enhanced experience. And our IT influencers receive an email with some really great tips and tricks and a call to action to download a white paper. Perfect. But it really is this ability to split paths at either the person or the buying group level that enables ServiceNow to deliver personalized experiences to those individuals while maintaining the context of an account at scale. Now that is truly cutting edge. Yeah, I reckon we clap for that one too. And as each of these interactions occur, we're updating our buying group engagement score so that once it actually reaches a desired threshold, we can automatically alert sales to progress the conversation, creating an even tighter connection between sales and marketing. Back to you, Amit.
Perfect. All right. So that is the personalization layer. Oh, yeah, please, please. That's awesome. You teed it up perfectly, Amy. Now we have this amazing personalized journey, we have these insights, we have this engagement score. How do we turn that into action? Again, the point I want everyone to take away, it's not just about marketing. We've talked a long time about the convergence between marketing and sales. We are bringing that together. It's even not just about sales. The customer sales team, the customer service teams, et cetera. How do we take this insight and democratize that for everybody to know where these accounts are? That's part one. Part two is every part of the B2B journey needs to be measured and optimized. Just like how we think about B2C. Today, super excited. We're announcing the new B2B capabilities within Customer Journey Analytics. We've taken all the core constructs of account, buying groups, and you can now see that natively within that. So as the last chapter for the last time, Amy, why don't we show this new capability?
Awesome. So let's bring the sales experience to life. So here my sales rep has received a notification that an HR decision maker from a key account is not engaged. So when they click through, they receive an AI-generated account summary as well as recommended next best actions. Now, account qualification agent helps to guide the rep to invite Rachel, the HR decision maker, to an event happening in Las Vegas. But it even goes as far as creating a personalized email to send to her. So he can view it, I mean, it looks awesome, so he can send. I mean, how easy was that? It really is just a few taps away for account progression for our sales teams now. But you might be wondering, how can you measure and optimize these complex journeys? Well, with the new B2B edition of Adobe Customer Journey Analytics, ServiceNow can analyze business KPIs in the context of account and buying group journeys in a single view. As you can see, they can understand how opportunities, pipeline, even average deal size are influenced by these journeys. And as they scroll down, they can get more insights, such as understanding what stage each of their buying groups are in, such as qualified, who are ready for sales outreach. This totally boosts sales velocity. So finally, as B2B organizations transform the way they go to market, Adobe continues to lead the way with the next generation capabilities that are empowering them to grow. So we're really excited about the future and our innovations to come. Thank you.
Amazing. Amy, thank you. Thanks for walking through those three chapters. And hopefully it's clear how we're bringing all of these different pillars together into an integrated solution to define the next era of B2B. So thank you again, Amy. And I do want to say thank you to ServiceNow for letting us use their logo and walk through that demo. You're in for a treat. I'm actually very, very excited. I'm pleased to introduce Colin Fleming to the stage. He's going to share ServiceNow's experience journey, but also his personal journey, which is awesome, by the way. You're going to hear a lot of great things. But let me introduce Colin.
Only ServiceNow connects every corner of your business, putting AI to work for people.
Every corner?
Every corner, Nick. So, Kate in HR, hey, Kate, can focus on people, not process.
Oh, actually, I have a question.
Keep up, Nick.
Do you have to be sick to take a sick day?
Patty in IT is using AI agents to deal with the small stuff so she can work on the big stuff.
Agents like secret agents?
Secret agents I control.
With your mind?
You know, I played a secret agent once.
We know. Oh, gosh.
I liked it.
Over here, AI gives Tina the info she needs to get the job done. Nick, what did we say about touching?
No touching.
Good. AI helps Jim solve customer problems before they're problems.
For reals?
For reals. ServiceNow is the only platform that connects every corner of your business, putting AI to work for people.
Oh, so we all work better together.
My work here is done.
Excuse me, which way back?
Follow him.
All right, well, thank you so much for that warm welcome. This is my first Adobe Summit. Pretty amazing. It's not because I didn't want to be here. This looks like a fantastic event. It's because the first time Adobe's let me in the door. I've spent the last 13 years of my career competing with Adobe, so to be here on stage is kind of a surreal experience for me, I have to admit. I feel like I'm with my people, a group full of marketers. What could be better? Now, my career has been defined by one simple thing. We all have it, let's be honest. Mine might be a little closer to the surface. Imposter syndrome. From the age of 8 years old, I've been faking it till I make it. As a young American trying to make his way into the sport of Formula One, the European-dominated sport of Formula One, to now an almost but didn't quite make it Formula One driver as a CMO of a top 5 software company. It has been anything but a linear career journey. But what I've learned in that time is that driving a car at 230 miles an hour and leading a large marketing organization, ironically, it's not all that different. And I thought don't worry, I'm going to get there. I thought I would share a few of the lessons that I've learned along the way, as well as some of the cool stuff that we're doing with Adobe. Now, I've been super, super fortunate to be surrounded by and worked for and with some of the most incredible marketers that our industry has to offer. Big awards, big degrees, big jobs. But I've learned one thing about marketing. We're full of it. Absolutely full of it. And don't worry, I'm complicit. I am a member of this club, but we are the worst. We've spent the last 20 years finding increasingly convoluted ways of communicating the value of our organizations in ways that nobody seems to understand. We've allowed our media partners and tech vendors to invent new acronyms every year to measure our businesses that might benefit them more than it does us. We find ourselves marketing to attribution models instead of the humans that actually buy our products, and we stand on stages just like this one all around the world, talking about how we need to be more human or more culture shaping before returning to our offices and doing exactly the opposite. Now, I've also learned that it's brand and demand, not or. This is not a binary decision, and it has never been a binary decision. The more I've learned, the more I think we've confused ourselves. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can generate relevant awareness and capture the demand in market. We know that the buying decision often happens at first thought. In fact, 81% of the time, brands buy the first company that comes to mind. So why do we spend so much time on the last step of the journey? Great marketing builds demand before people even know it, and it's much more fun that way. I've learned that none of the B's in B2B stand for boring. 70% of the GDP is created from business-to-business transactions, and yet for some crazy reason, we've decided to allow ourselves to be measured by a lower standard and a lower bar. There's no reason, and yet here we are. I've spent the last 10 years of my career trying to change this perspective, and I will spend the next 10 if I have to. But maybe, Summit, you'll help us change this perspective starting here. I believe that B2B can be just as provocative, just as creative, and just as thought-provoking as any of our friends in B2C in the room. We share an admiration for great storytelling, a bold point of view, and deep, wonderful customer experiences that should be the standard in our industry, not the exception. I've learned that friction is ultimately marketing's kryptonite. Customers have zero patience for complexity, and every extra step we put our customers through drives our customers away. Too often, we design our marketing organizations around the org charts or the systems we use instead of the humans that actually buy our product. Magic happens when we remove that friction, not add to it. People don't like being marketed to. They like being helped. And when we help, the results ultimately do come. Now, I'm told for my final one that it wouldn't be a keynote if we didn't throw in an ancient proverb. But I couldn't find the right one, so I modified it for my own benefit. It takes a village to raise a brand, doesn't it? A village. It needs the whole company, every single employee, and one employee in particular. The CFO has got to be your ride or die partner. It requires us to have a thoughtful about our employees and make sure that every employee is on the journey. And I've got my wonderful team here in the audience with us as well. There is one of them. And we have Adobe. Adobe is absolutely our ride or die partner in this transformation, a truly trusted advisor. And Adobe is helping us with all kinds of things right now. I thought I could share a couple of those examples that you may have seen earlier in the demo. We're moving from a product-led organization to a brand-led organization. That's not the marketer's words, that's our CEO's words. It requires a huge culture shift to make this change, though. It has to happen across the entire organizations. It has to think about how we change how we think about making decisions, how we invest in our businesses, and ultimately how we measure success. And we have to reimagine everything, including how we deliver experiences. And with Adobe Experience Platform, they're helping us do exactly that, and helping us not only keep pace with the industry, but set it, and hopefully win this battle for relevance in AI. Now, I hail from San Francisco. It is my home. I love it to death, but I really don't like FOG. FOG's the worst. FOG is the only acronym I will let myself use in this presentation, and it stands for Fact-Efficient Obfuscating Generalities, also known as how B2B tends to talk. And look, we were no different. We are absolutely no different. You walk the hallways of ServiceNow and you hear phrases like HAM and SAM and ITAM and these crazy acronyms. It sounds more like a Dr. Seuss novel than it does enterprise software. But as our business has grown, as we've added more complexity and new technologies and new audiences, we've tried to strive for simplicity, to ditch that inside baseball, that fog, and try to speak the language of the customer. We're putting AI to work for people. Which sounds great, but how do you do this at truly global scale? As we introduce ourselves to new audiences like in HR and finance and CRM and security like you saw in the demo, how do we do this at true personalization? Well, Adobe Journey Optimizer B2B Edition is helping us do that. Finally, real-world personalization coming to life in real-world scenarios. It's pretty awesome to see. Look, you've heard the phrase AI a lot. In this new era, if you are standing still, you are ultimately falling behind. We're doing all kinds of things, and we're investing in AI in every hire we make and every investment we make. Things like synthetic research to more deeply understand the personas in which we market to. We've even identified 76 new category entry points that we didn't know of before through the use of generative AI. Of course, we have AI agents in every corner of our business, and it's helping us move much more quickly. And now, as of yesterday, we've got all kinds of new AI agents from Adobe to connect to, which will be really amazing. Of course, we're governing the brand at scale like I never thought possible, and hundreds of new use cases that we're experimenting with every single day. I truly believe that now we are only limited by the curiosity in this room, by the curiosity in all of our organizations. What a great opportunity for us all. And of course, Adobe is super central to this. But the biggest shift of all you saw in that demo. I'm on a mission to increase marketing's strategic role inside the organization. Gone are the days of throwing leads over the fence, in this case, down the stairs, and living and dying by the MQL. We're collaborating with sales as true business partners and looking at the full picture in buying groups. We're saying goodbye to the idea that one lead will help us make the year or make the quarter, and finally realizing that it's dozens of people, sometimes obvious and sometimes not obvious, that actually influence the decision. We're at the table with sales and marketing together and reinventing that relationship. As you saw in that ad and the picture, we're actually bringing these buying groups to life in our creative as well, personifying the very people that we market to, giving them personalities, identities, and actually using them as distinctive assets. And all of this comes together to bring marketing closer to the transaction and earning our seat at the right table that we've always known. We're just getting started with Adobe, and I cannot wait for all the new innovation to come. But as you've heard from so many people, this industry will never move this slowly again. And maybe this time you'll believe me that driving a car at 230 miles an hour and leading a large marketing organization isn't all that different. Back to you, Emmett. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Colin. I love that journey. And he, by the way, he was a driver, just so everyone took away from that. I was not a driver. I'm not that cool. But again, Colin, thank you for everything, and thank you for your continued partnership. It is incredibly appreciated and valued. Look, I want to kind of wrap up here a little bit. I think between day one and day two, I know you've heard a lot, right? And hopefully it was helpful for us to go through the agentic capabilities, unified customer experience, the platform, and now B2B. The message I want you to take away is we are truly supporting you in this new era of customer experience orchestration. We believe in it, we're pioneering it, and we are so excited to work with you on that. A little bit of housekeeping now before we wrap. A couple things that please do attend the strategy keynotes. We had 2 yesterday that were very well attended. I think people found them very useful. Today you can see those up above me. One is we're going to go much deeper on the B2B stuff that we just walked through, and the second one is on unified customer experience. Please do attend those. We're going to have executives from Marriott, from NVIDIA. They're great sessions. We got good feedback. I think it's a great way to go deeper and learn a little bit more what we're talking about. And actually, on the fun side, worth calling out, please also come back to Sneaks. Hopefully, everyone in this audience has done Sneaks before. It is a lot of fun. It's the way we get to show you what's cooking in the lab. Very excited to have Ken Jeong here, so please, by all means, come. It's going to be absolutely incredible, and do that. And then also, Bash. Very excited about Bash tonight. Please do attend that. We're very lucky to have Grammy Award-winning singer, songwriter, guitarist, Gary Clark Jr., so please don't miss these things. Yeah, he's incredible, so very excited about that as well. So with that, just on behalf of everyone at Adobe, it takes a village to put this together. You saw a lot of us on stage. Just a massive thank you to all of you for joining us. Thank you for the partnership. Incredibly look forward to what we're about to do even more with you. And with that, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.